national championships. What does it mean to kind of keep a streak alive as the Hornets sent a couple of representatives up there this year, and you're kind of making it a tradition now?
I mean, it means a lot. It's my first time ever going, and I set a goal out for myself, at the start of this year that I wanted to make it to nationals. Talking with Payson and such. So, I mean, it means a lot for me, and I know we haven't had a multi go to nationals here in a while, so it means a lot, honestly.
Speaking of that, just to go in, what confidence do you gain from coming through a conference as difficult as the MIAA and being able to say, hey, I'm coming into nationals as an MIAA champion?
I mean, it definitely boosts my confidence a little bit. Obviously, like, there's a lot of guys that didn't compete, like Hunter Jones and Nolan Churchman, so, like, they're good competition as well, so the field definitely wasn't as stacked as it could be, but, like, still, it was honestly one of the most competitive multis I've ever been a part of at conference, so it felt really good winning, especially closing out the win with the 1K, which is something, I've always wanted to do, so I feel pretty confident going in, and it's good to get a multi in where a lot of my events were just kind of averaged out, and I still ended up getting a PR. So, great practice and a good tune-up for nationals.
Well, last thing for you going up into nationals, and it's a festival year. How excited are you just to kind of see the atmosphere of what that's going to be like?
I'm really excited. I mean, I went to nationals at Pitt State last year just to watch some of my teammates, and it was a lot of fun. So to actually be competing in it is a big deal to me, and I also get the opportunity to get some of my family together to watch. So I'll have my whole family be there, and they've never all collectively been together to watch me because my brother's stationed out in Montana in the Air Force, and my sister's working. So to have my whole family there, it means a lot, and yeah, it's just they always say like conference, feel the conference magic. There's definitely going to be some nationals magic, and hopefully I feel that this weekend.
Just talking about your family a little bit. Would your brother have to do anything special to get off to come watch? Or?
So my brother, he went to the Air Force Academy and then graduated. Obviously, had to serve. He's serving his 5 years, and he's probably going to continue to serve. And he's a missileer, so basically he goes like a week in and then 2 weeks off. So he has to be pretty strategic on the days that he calls off, and he took kind of a risk on calling off for nationals to watch me, and it paid off. So it's awesome.
Do you have to do that?
It was months in advance. Yeah, and I mean he only gets a certain amount of vacation days, so it's a big deal.
All right, then talking more about competition, and you said you kind of had an average day in most of your events. So what do you think you're gonna have to do to maybe take it that next level? And what can you do as you get up there?
I would say I'm definitely gonna have to see some PRs in the events individually if I want to get on that podium and be All-American. So it's gonna take a pretty well put together multi, but I think it's something that's been loading up, and I'm ready to do so.
And then the fact that you're just do a multi, but you don't have to worry about anything else. How does that help your mindset going into it?
Oh, it's really nice. I mean, at conference I had to turn around about an hour later and do long jumps. So to just focus on the multi, it's really good.
And then last thing for me, talk about the conference and the fact there's 5 guys from the MIAA that are in there. I mean, how does that help you go into that, or what's the feeling?
I think it's awesome, honestly. A lot of the multis in the MIAA, honestly, all of them, we're all really close together, and it's something we pride ourselves upon about qualifying this many guys. So we wanted as much guys as possible. I know there was a couple guys that kind of got in that 16 mark and got bumped out, and so it was hard to see that. But for this year, having this many guys, it's a big deal, and we're all having each other's backs during the competition. That's just kind of how the multi is.
What's your confidence level at right now? Because you've been running some personal bests and also putting yourself kind of high into the Emporia State record books here down the stretch.
I'm very confident. I think the last couple months I was very frustrated, I guess, with some of my times, and I knew they were good, but to my standards, not quite so good. But then finally at conference, I think everything clicked. I got everything together, and I ran that amazing time that eventually got me into nationals. So I think I'm feeling very confident going into nationals.
What do you think you had to work through in order to kind of get yourself on the right page or the right track, or just approaching the race in the right way to get to nationals?
Yeah, I mean, all these other guys, obviously having an indoor track, an indoor facility, they have a little bit of an advantage, but I don't think much of it. I just go to work every day, do my job, and I do think blocks were a huge thing that I continued to work on throughout the year that I always struggled with last year. So I knew that was my focal point this year, getting up to speed, because I knew once I got to speed, I can catch some guys. So it was definitely my block start, my drive phase.
Last season, obviously, with the national championships in the outdoor being held here, just being able to experience that and see what that was like here in your home course, how do you feel like that experience may help you kind of anticipate what you're going to see at these indoor national championships?
Yeah, I definitely think last year was great for me to first get to nationals because I was very, very nervous last year. I will not lie to you. I was extremely nervous. I didn't know what was going on because it was completely different than a normal track meet. But now that I understand what the days look like, how to prepare, how to go about myself, I think that'll help me in the long run this next entire week when we get there.
And then just talk about the number of kids from the MIAA that are in this. I think 7 out of the 18 are in.
Yeah, I mean, I will easily say our conference is the best in D2 by far. We constantly have the numbers, the jumps, just everything up there in the higher echelon of D2, which is, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's amazing, but it is tough going to every meet and competing against those guys, but it only makes me stronger, so.
And then, so you're thinking that kind of helps you when you're in there and you're on the, I mean, there's only 7 seconds to
yeah.
what's happening, but you think that helps you out a little bit?
I do think so because I do know some of them and we talk before and everything because, I mean, we are kind of enemies and kind of against each other once we get on the track, but besides that, I mean, I'll talk to them and, you know.
So then talk a little bit about just you and Jonah going together and then, you're kind of the veteran now of doing it.
Yeah.
What kind of advice have you been able to give him? Or?
Yeah, I mean, he was a little nervous once he found out he got in because it is his first time. And, I mean, we're pretty opposite because he's doing 8 different events and I'm just doing the one. So, I mean, he's got a lot of preparing to do. And I said just take it one day at a time, because he's a 2-day event kind of guy. So just relax and make sure you're doing your own thing instead of watching other people.
And then speaking of that, just one event, you don't have to worry about long jump, you don't have to worry about anything else, relays, just how does that help you get focused?
Definitely it feels great only doing one. I wish I was obviously doing long jump or being able to make it also in the 2, but I mean, only the 60, I do feel like that's my strongest event, so I'm glad I made it in that. And I mean, I just will warm up, I'll have my headphones in, I'll be focused, locked in on my own specific thing and not worrying about anything outside.
Well, now that your guys are ready, does it seem like the season's gone by fast, and it seems like you guys have been, as a team, just kind of steadily improving throughout the year?
Yeah, that's the way you hope things go, at the end of the day. But I think they're pumped. It's good to see them really find themselves there at conference and be able to produce the way they did. So they're healthy. I think they're really, really excited and anxious to, in a good way, to get there and mix it up with the best in the country.
Well, you mentioned excitement and anxiety, and Ty admitted that maybe the nerves got to the best of him a little bit when he was here. How do you hope that experience of being at the outdoor championship that you guys hosted last year will help calm him down, and maybe he'll be able to rub some of that experience off on Jonah, who admitted that he's a little anxious and amped up for this as well?
Yeah, rightly so. I mean, it's the big stage for him, and the more people we get there, the more that can be relayed to other people, and when we get the big group that we're looking to get eventually, we're going there with a little different mindset. But I think it's going to help Ty for sure. He had mentioned to me the last couple weeks, same deal. Like, I was just so nervous in the 100-meter prelim. I ran fast, but I wasn't running very good technically. It was one of those deals. So he's in a better place, I think, upstairs. And Jonah just a competitor. He's got 7 different events to try to wiggle his way in. Whereas Ty's got kind of the one potentially done, but hopefully you make that final. Jonah's got that scenario where, hey, we don't get the 60 done excellently. We've got long jump. We've got 6 other events we can kind of come back in. So a little good play there in terms of how that could work for him mentally. But I think they're going to do well. I really do. And Coach Mason's got Jonah in a really good spot, physiologically as well as mentally. And so we're going to get in there and kick it around.
Obviously, the national championships are always big, but everybody talks about, every 3-4 years, whatever it is, they always talk about the festival year of NCAA Division II. Can you kind of talk through people who don't know what that's all about and what the festival year kind of brings to the forefront when and specifically how it pertains to your championship?
Yeah, there was a concept good handful of years ago where they came up with the idea to try to incorporate more championship sports at the same site at the same time, as opposed to keeping them separate. And so it rotates between the fall sport festival, the winter sport festival, and the spring sport festival. And so this year's a winter sport festival, which means swimming and diving, men's and women's, and then men's and women's wrestling, as well as indoor track and field. For men and women, we'll be at the same site. We all stay in the same hotels. There's a group of 4 hotels that all the athletes and coaches are supposed to stay at. And then we have an opening ceremony. We do some other things relative to crossover between the sports. They're allowed to get into our days of competition free. We can go and find their site and watch some swimming, diving, or some wrestling. And swimming, diving goes on all week. It's crazy how many meters those people swim at a championship, and wrestling, as you know, goes round after round. So we're excited to maybe get in there, maybe watch a few of those things too, and just kind of break up our world relative to track and field. But it's a neat deal. There's a few more requirements. We're there a day or two earlier than we normally would be. It extends our meet from a 2-day meet to a 3-day meet from a championship standpoint, which is a little bit different. But again, in the end, it's a good thing, I think. And it's nice to know when that's going to happen so you can kind of prepare, because there is a few different things you got to pay attention to.
Talk a little bit about the competition you're going to face. I mean, both guys are going into events that have a lot of MIAA guys in it with them.
Yeah, 100%. There'll be familiarity there, which would be nice. There'll be some new faces, which is fine, but kind of dominated, to a certain degree by the MIAA folks and in some of those respects. And again, I think that's going to be beneficial to us. And it's fun to be able to compete against that the entire year, in all honesty. And you go to the conference meet, and like we talked about before, conference is kind of a mini national meet. There's so many kids in our league that make it to the national show that, again, there's going to be that concept there where it's like, hey, compete against these guys all year long. It's not the big a deal, and so I think it's going to be an okay thing for them.
And then talking about Jonah in particular, PR, second best mark in school history, but he himself said he didn't have a big outstanding any one event. What can he do if he starts to hit that all together?
Yeah, Coach Maydew and I have talked about where his current ceiling is, relative to the next to this week basically, and if he hits everywhere, I think he's capable of 5,400 points and challenging that top 4, top 5 spot potentially, depending on how those other guys do. But and that'd be a great number. It would be, school record. I think he's got in his head, and then certainly being on a podium, top 8, bringing back some hardware is something that I think is very realistic for him. And again, like I said, physiologically, he's in a spot to do those things. He's rolling pretty well on some things, and you just got to put 7 of those things together, and yeah, it'll be fun to watch him do it.
And then just Ty Anderson a little bit, number-wise, a little bit on the outside, but there's been times he's surprised some people when you actually get on the track.
He's that kind of guy. There's no doubt. He's a competitor. So gun goes off, you never know. And in that event, there are 18 guys between 6.59 seconds and 6.69 seconds. So 1/10 of a second, there's 18 guys stuffed in there. So, I mean, it's anybody's game at that point, in all honesty. You got 3 bad steps, and the guy that runs 6.59 doesn't run that, and we have our race that we need to have, and we run 6.65 or something like that. Boom, we're in the hunt. So it's one of those deals where going to it and thinking about it in those terms, I'd say it's right there. We just got to put one together. And again, he's feeling good. I think that 6.68 at conference really just kind of said, okay, there it is. That's the one I've been chasing, kind of all indoor. And now it's just about repeating that with just a little bit better, hit out of the blocks.